Hello folks, and welcome to another analog-based review. This week, a place of wonderment and surprise. The continuing saga, well, continues with a cartridge priced at a pound under £1,000. This is a £999 moving coil cartridge called the Maya from a company called Segno. This is actually a cooperative project via that company and the UK's own Guy Sargent, the boss, the owner of Pure Sound. And I'm sure some of you will be familiar with his products, Guy Sargent's products. He does some excellent valve-based amplifiers, including, well, I've done a couple myself, and I'll pop little images of the amplifiers I have reviewed on screen now, just to give you an idea. This time, Sargent is honing his cartridge skills, which he learned basically at the shoulder of the very famous Kondo, the founder of Audio Note in Japan. For this particular project, I would say that Sargent had the senior position in design terms for the Maya cartridge. It was he who requested the principal materials for this cartridge and how they were put together and the sound he was after. And they are, well, sporting an attractive finish to a box-shaped alloy chassis with, thank goodness, threaded bolt holes. What's a slightly ill-fitting stylus guard, have to say, a minor thing, but even so. The Maya piques interest because it uses 5N, that's 99.999% pure silver coils. From memory, I would suggest that most moving coil cartridges at this price point tends to use copper. So I was interested to hear how that silver choice would impact on the sound and thus differentiate it from the competition. The coils are suspended in a field generated by a rare earth samarium cobalt magnet. Now, again, while not unheard of, it's an interesting and relatively rare choice, mainly because these magnets are expensive and they're rather awkward to work with because they're rather brittle and less forgiving overall during manufacturing. I would suggest that most companies have targeted cheaper magnets to save a bit on cash and the hassle. So plumping for a samarium cobalt is a bold choice. Again, I was interested to hear how that impacted on the sound. The stylus tip is of a fine line profile, and that is mounted onto a very stiff titanium cantilever. Again, this is relatively rare, heavier than boron perhaps, but harder to work with than aluminium. Again, from memory, I think higher end and rather older designs from the likes of who? Technics, maybe, Audio-Technica, Panasonic, even people like JVC are the closest companions that I can think of who made a similar selection. And I would say it's an option based on tonal preferences more than anything else. But to repeat once more, it's not a common choice at this price. So I am interested to know how the sound will be impacted with all of these bits and pieces. In fact, let's get down to those sound possibilities, shall we? Now, in software terms, I grabbed a couple of albums to test the Maya. The first is one called Irisation and Las Plantas on the Wah label. This is a Spanish label. Wonderful label, by the way. I think this one was released in 2007. It's full of acoustic guitar pickings, xylophones, a ton of secondary percussion, anything they found in the studio by the sound of it. And the second was my, well, currently favourite, poppy jazz funk from Level 42's self-titled 1981 album, and the track Turn It On, which, yes, I've used it a lot recently, but it's been useful for the recent analog reviews. To begin, I drafted in my gold ring Ethos, one of the best moving coils priced around the 1K mark that I have heard in many a year, sporting an aluminium cantilever, neodymium magnet, and copper coils. Sound-wise, from the gold ring, smooth mids, balanced output, great detail, broad sound stage, and a surprisingly confident bass output. The Maya immediately had a tough challenge on its hands. The Maya would have to go some to even get close to the gold ring, I would say. Now, the loading on the ethos requires 100 ohms. The Maya recommends between 10 and 100, but I would look at around 50 or so. For me, the Maya at 100 ohms produced a slightly peaky treble and edgy mid-range. Everything did settle very nicely though when I backed off that top-end figure. By all means, use your ears to find your own sweet spot, but I would certainly move downhill towards the 50 ohm figure if you can. So within that sweet spot, the Maya offered exceptional focus and precision. That precision meant that notes started and stopped with incredible accuracy. There was zero slaring from this cartridge, and music skipped along at pace. You know what? CD players, at least back in my day, spent half of their time trying to sound analog. It was always in reviews, oh, the CD player sounds rather analog, that was supposed to be a good thing. Well, the Maya takes the opposite point of view because it does sound rather CD-like, at least in terms of precision, in terms of accuracy, and in terms of focus. At the recommended average tracking force of 2 grams, that precision was almost military in its presentation. So I decreased the tracking down to 1.75 just to soften things a little bit, and that really did help to balance the sound. Even so, that combination of the analog-inspired open, airy and fragile cymbals combined well with the more meticulous presentation from the same. And look, don't think this description is code for bright and edgy sound. Far from it, not at all. Vocals were insightful, mids were open and spacious, while bass was crisp and punchy. I would say the sound is analog with the best parts of digital. Okay, so how does the Maya compare to a cartridge twice its own price? The £2,000 worth of Audiophile cadenza bronze, sporting gold-plated copper coils, again, neodymium magnet, and an aluminium cantilever. The bronze does have a rather epic, magnificent sound output when compared to the Maya. The Audiophile has a larger, very stagey, with a big, bold presence, more imposing bass, broadly balanced in presentation terms too. What the Maya does that the cadenza bronze does not is focus on accuracy. The focus and precision is greater from the Maya, while clarity and mid-range insight is also superior from the Maya. The cadenza isn't bad at all in these areas, but the Maya excels and wins out. And basically that's the review of the Segno Maya moving coil cartridge. Let me give you a few final thoughts. I'll give you some pros and cons too, and a rating. Now, I didn't know what to expect from the Segno Maya, but I wasn't prepared for that terrific, meticulous presentation combined with an airy, open mid-range and crisp bass. The fact that it fights its corner well and even scores points on my 2K reference cartridge just shows the Maya's high value for money too. Guy Sargent is to be congratulated, not just for the resultant sound quality from his bold and adventurous design, but by offering consumers a real choice in sound direction. It certainly makes a refreshing change from the often rather safe and sometimes bland designs we're used to seeing at this price point. Highly recommended and definitely worth a listen if you're looking to upgrade from a moving magnet or a lower cost moving coil. Grab this little blue box. Well, that's a lot, folks. Thank you very much for staying to the end of this particular video. Can I ask you, before you go, just downstairs, can you click on the like and subscribe buttons too, if you haven't done so already? I would be much appreciated. I would be cock-a-hoop. I would be super happy. I would be grinning from ear to ear. And after all those cliches, let me give you a few more. Down below, I will give you a link to this product. I will also be giving you links to my own products, my Facebook group, which you're welcome to join, my website, which is over yonder and waiting for your visit, and Patreon, which basically pays the bills on this channel, keeps it going. And if you like these kind of videos, my hi-fi news and my occasional music alerts, then consider supporting me over on Patreon, and it'll just keep it going, which would be nice. Well, I think so. From my side of the fence. Don't know about you, but maybe you can let me know. I'll be back. I'll be back. Oh, probably. Well, maybe Friday with a music alert. If not, and again, it's always a time thing with the music alerts. I need just a bit of extra few hours to get things sorted, you know, do the whole review thing. So if I don't do that, I'll be back Saturday with hi-fi news, and then on Sunday another review. And there may even be a continuation in this now long-running analog thing we're doing. Possibly a turntable, maybe priced around the $600-700 mark-ish. So tune in for that, and we'll have lots of fun. And I hope to have your company at that time. Until then, bye-bye for now.